Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
basically, what we're witnessing is probably the single biggest change to happen to any freshwater ecosystem on Earth in the last 10,000 years.
So what's happening? There are quadrillions of invasive mussels sort of sucking the life out of the Great Lakes, or more accurately, pulling it down into the bottom of the lakes. And so there's so many mussels that Lakes Huron and Michigan can have all the water filtered in them every few days when the water is available to the mussels.
And so they're taking these desperately needed nutrients and algae, really the building blocks of life, that stuff that's right at the bottom of the food web, and trapping it on the bottom. So larval fish, like these little whitefish, the kind of fish that we like to eat, are starving and they're not growing up.
So this has led to sort of huge, people call them biological deserts, where fewer plankton at the bottom of the food chain is leading to far fewer fish at the top, because a food chain is like a pyramid, and including the ones that communities around the Great Lakes rely upon for food and income.
And so really it's this lack of algae and plankton and zooplankton that make the water so clear. In fact, it's 2 to 3 times clearer than the water was before the mussels arrived, especially Lakes Huron, Michigan, and Ontario.
So now when we look at the crystal clear water out our back door, we look at it in a very different light. So the water isn't super clean, it's devoid of the stuff of life, really.
So how come no one's talking about this? Well, most of our interactions with the Great Lakes are limited to the 10 meters or so next to shore and what's coming out of our taps. And the other thing is that it's hard for people to care about something that they can't see. So there's tons of film, and I'm sure you've seen it, of ocean environments, coral reefs, sharks, that stuff's really ubiquitous. And freshwater systems get a lot less attention. So if we want people to care about this greatest freshwater ecosystem on Earth, we need to show them what's down there. And ironically, the increased clarity is an opportunity to do just that.
And this has come at a time of at a major sort of breakthrough in filming underwater with these underwater drones, essentially. So these are highly stable underwater robots that can literally swim with the fishes, and then you stabilize the footage afterwards, and it looks like aerial drone footage, basically. So all of this combined means that we have a chance to show people life in the Great Lakes in a way we've never been able to before, at what we think is a real crucial turning point in their history.
And so it's with the support of the Trebek initiative that we've been able to create a partnership with the world's leading underwater drone company to bring one of the most advanced cinema drones to Canada for the first time. And it also has meant that we can get out on the water to document the really incredible impact of the mussel invasion. So we've been looking at both impacted environments, but also pristine environments to help show people what's at stake.
So we've had a few successes so far, and we're gonna show you a few clips now. But I want to say that yeah, we're a part of this, but we've been working with lots of folks. So the science community, the recreational community, the recreational fishing community, the indigenous fishing community, and the commercial fishing community around the Great Lakes. So it's at least as much their success as ours, as far as what we've been able to get. So this is a shot at about 45 meters. This is Lake Michigan, but you can see all the mussels on the bottom. And this is a ponar grabber, taking a sample of those mussels up to a boat above. And here's a close-up shot here. So you can see the mussels in their siphons really sucking that water in, filtering it. Again, it's about 45 meters. And here we are at about 100 meters. And so this is a natural light shot. So there's no additional light. So the water's so clear, we're able to see down 100 meters, 330 feet or so, 350 feet. You can see lots of mussels there as well. This is in Georgian Bay. And then we go even deeper. This is about 160 meters in Georgian Bay. So the deepest part of Georgian Bay. Have to turn the lights on here. You can see the mussels look a little bit different, but they're definitely down there doing their thing, just sort of hopping up on that clay substrate there.
And so one thing we really weren't sure about when we started this whole project was how fish would respond to the ROV. And, you know, for the most part, it's actually been pretty positive. This is spawning lake trout, also off of the Bruce Peninsula here. You can see they're quite playful. They also have other things on their mind at this point. And they even come up and interact with the craft. We're kind of one of the gang. And so in the mussel invasion story, there's going to be species that win and species that lose. And luckily for the lake trout, they seem to be doing fairly well. And one of the species that seems to be benefiting from some of the changes to the lake system. That gal there on the right has a full belly of eggs.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are these mussels, are they zebra mussels or quagga mussels?
So they're quagga mussels, which is a cousin of the zebra mussel. And you've certainly heard of the zebra mussel, but the quagga have outcompeted the zebras. So probably if you see a mussel in the Great Lakes today, it's going to be a quagga. They look fairly similar. The quaggas are a little bigger. They don't have as jaggy a pattern, but they also like to live a little bit deeper. So we can't see them quite as easily from shore.
Good, thank you.
Are they edible?
No, they're like this big.
So this is a shot inside a school of multi-species school of fish. Actually, we're trying to find shots that feel like we're looking at ocean footage there, and we're pretty happy to be able to get inside these big schools of fish, and people are pretty excited about this footage in particular, just to see how the fish are behaving.
So these are perch, which you may have enjoyed eating at one time or another. Colorful little guys, another species that is declining in numbers because of the mussels. And again, this is one of those shots that we just wanted to sneak in because it looks kind of oceany and makes our Great Lakes feel really special.
Hey, Yvonne, what would the depth be there?
These guys are really shallow. This is probably 10 feet of water, like
Okay.
not super deep.
Yeah, I assumed it had to be with the grass. Okay.
Yeah. All right. And then so this video kind of shows the other end of the spectrum. It's a really good illustration of, an environment that's really heavily impacted by invasive species. So here we've got an invasive sea lamprey attached to a non-native carp swimming over a bed of invasive mussels. So it's a bit of a triple whammy here, and this is in Lake Ontario. Probably won't work out so well for the carp either. They'll probably not make it as a result. And they might be able to get the lamprey off. Maybe. And then this one, which you'll see them in a second, features some Cisco hunting alewife. And so Cisco, this is kind of a story of adaptation. They're a fish species that used to eat plankton, and now they've become piscivorous. They've started eating other fish because they can't get enough plankton. And our friends in the scientific community are pretty excited about this because they've suspected this is happening. They've found some fish in stomachs in their monitoring work, but this kind of backs up their theory about what's happening with out in the lakes, and it also feels pretty oceany to us. So. There you go.
And so this is the footage we're probably the most excited about. So these are lake whitefish, the species that's probably been most heavily impacted by the quagga mussels and the most important commercial species in the Great Lakes. But the lot we don't know about them, including how exactly they reproduce. And so far as anyone knows, this is the only footage of lake whitefish spawning that exists.
Yeah. So we went out on many nights trying to find this activity. They spawn in late November at night. So it was a bit of a challenge getting out in a boat end of November. We made many attempts, but this dance kind of unfolded before us. And what's amazing about this for us as artists is that, you know, it's advancing the science on lake whitefish. So for instance, the female looks like she's quite interested in where she lays her eggs. Habitat might be more important to spawning than we thought before. And the scientific and fish management community is already using this footage to help inform decisions about how to help restore the whitefish and how to manage lakes. So that's pretty exciting for us. You'll get to see the deed in about just a second. That's it. So we'll be using the footage we gather with our Trebek Initiative grant to create a whole host of media, including a short, all underwater documentary about the impacts of quagga mussels on the Great Lakes.
We're also working on a documentary series and feature called All Too Clear, and our Canadian broadcaster, which has just come on board, will be TV Ontario, so it'll be available to Canadians that way. And we're also looking for a US broadcaster, so if you know
anybody that happens to be a US broadcaster. And so in the coming year, we'll be heading out on the water as much as we can to explore even more of the underwater world. But in the meantime, here is the trailer for All Too Clear, which features more fun fish footage.
It's gone almost unnoticed, but over the past 20 years, the Great Lakes of North America have undergone a change of unimaginable scale. Quadrillions of tiny invasive mussels have quietly expanded ever deeper into the depths. They're devouring the bottom of the food chain, sucking the life out of the world's largest freshwater environment. But their insatiable appetite has had an extraordinary side effect. It's made the water astonishingly clear.
Around the world, we're seeing fish populations in a spiral decline. And it's really easy just to point the finger and say, that's happening somewhere else, that's not happening here. But in reality, it's happening right under our nose.
This